Welcome back to the channel. My name is Coach Brian from Big Ben Strength, and I'm here today with Mackenzie from Peak Human Performance. We're going to teach you how to clean. First thing that you're going to need to do when understanding the clean is knowing where your grip is on the bar. For most people, about thumb's distance away from your hips is going to be the best option for you. However, if you have longer limbs, you may need to go a little bit wider or narrower depending on what feels best. Compared to a snatch, you don't necessarily need to have that bar in your hip crease. It's going to be resting a little bit more on the upper thigh. So don't worry about trying to make sure that that bar sits in your hip crease. Along with that grip placement, we want to make sure we're utilizing the hook grip. Now, I have a full video on that on our YouTube already, so make sure you check out the hook grip tutorial first. But basically, we're going to place our thumb under our fingers like you're not supposed to punch. That hook grip's going to lock in your grip and make it much more consistent, and you're not going to have to worry about being limited by your grip strength when going for snatches and cleans. The next thing that we need to pay attention to is our stance. For most people, we're going to have two stances. We're going to have our pulling stance and our squatting stance. With our pulling stance, we are going to generally have our feet under our hips directly, with the toes pointed straight forward or slightly out. However, you may go wider if you have longer legs. And for your squat stance, make sure to check out our front squat tutorial for a more in-depth explanation of that. But it's going to be wherever you feel the most comfortable achieving a full range of motion squat, usually outside of the shoulders with the toes pointed slightly out. The first movement in our clean progression is the power position clean. This is the most important position in the clean, and we want to make sure that this is perfected before we move on to more complicated versions of the lift. The power position is going to have your feet slightly under your hips. We're going to bend the knees slightly and lean forward slightly. Now, some coaches may cue a vertical torso in this dip position. I like slightly forward as it mimics a vertical jump a little bit better and reduces the amount of distance that people tend to jump forward in the clean. So in this position, we've got our shoulders directly over the bar or slightly in front. We've got a knee bend. However, the balance is still on the midfoot. From this position, we are going to drive up with the legs and catch in a squat. Now, if you can't catch in a full squat immediately, receive the bar wherever you can, stop to make sure that your balance is appropriate, and then complete the rest of the squat. This position is so important to make sure that we are using vertical leg drive to drive the bar up and making sure that we're not using our hips to push the bar forward away from us. Any forward movement of the bar in the clean is going to result in a less efficient clean. So think up, not forward. That looks like this. That forward movement, that's a no-go. Less efficient, you're not going to be as strong. Instead, we want it to look like this. To recap in this position, we want to make sure that we have leg drive up and that we are using our arms to keep that bar close to us as we move down into the squat. So again, vertical drive with the legs and keep that close with the arms. The next clean progression is a double pause clean. But first, before we get into that, we need to understand where our start position is when we're pulling from the floor. Most people's start position should have the hips above the knees and the shoulders above the hips, with the shoulders in line with the bar or slightly in front of. Wherever we're at in this position, all that really matters is making sure that we have midfoot pressure on the foot and we're not too far forward on the toes or too far back on the heels. This is going to make sure that when you get to that power position, you are as efficient as you possibly can be. Next clean progression is the double pause clean. In this position, we are going to pause directly above the kneecaps and in the power position that we've already practiced before finishing the rest of the lift. That looks like this. In this knee position, we want to make sure that our balance is midfoot, not too far back on the heel, not too far forward on the toe, perfectly in the middle before we come back to the power position and finish the rest of the lift. Just to recap this, midfoot pressure in our start position, midfoot pressure as we get to the knee, midfoot pressure as we get to the power position, and keep it close as we finish the rest of the lift. The next movement in our clean progression is a tempo clean. A tempo clean is going to have you moving fluidly without any pauses to the power position. And once you get to that power position, you finish the rest of the lift explosively like we've already practiced. However, with this tempo, we are going to pull slow from the ground to that power position for about 4 seconds before you complete the rest of the lift. That looks like this. 4, 3, 2, go. This is a great way to practice reaching the power position fluidly, making sure that you have midfoot balance throughout the entirety of the pull. Just to recap, all of the things that we've practiced in the previous progressions apply here. We're just adding a little bit more fluidity to the movement. The last clean progression is a full speed clean. It looks like this. Nothing changes from the tempo clean to a full speed clean besides adding a little bit of extra speed to the pull. However, when we're doing this, we should not be trying to pull as fast as possible right off the ground. It should gradually get faster as we get closer to our power position. Rushing the lift in the beginning is a sure way to make sure that you are messing up the lift later on. One of the most common errors in the clean is the hips shooting up too fast in that first portion of the pull. That looks like this. When the hips shoot up too early, it's going to shift our balance too far back on our heels and result in us overcompensating and pushing that bar forward, usually resulting in a forward jump. However, it may not always result in a forward jump, but it's still something that we want to make sure that we're paying attention to. One of the best ways to fix this is with a tempo clean. So returning back to our second to last progression of the clean, making sure we slow things down and are moving appropriately. That looks like this. By moving slow, we're able to make sure that we are not rushing any portion of the lift and that we're more aware of what's happening in our body as we pull. Another common error in the clean is powering everything. That means receiving the bar not in a full squat, but catching above parallel. A lot of people say that they can power clean more than they can full clean, and that is a problem. The best way to fix that is by never powering again. If you do find yourself powering, one of the best things that you can do is stop wherever you catch and continue to ride it down into the bottom of the squat. That looks like this. Make the goal to progressively receive the bar slightly lower every single time. Recap, if you want to not power, stop powering. Another common error in the clean is the hips pushing the bar forward instead of legs driving up. That looks like this. Now, it may not be quite as dramatic as that massive jump forward that Mackenzie just did, but any forward movement of the bar is going to be a less efficient movement. That would be like holding your groceries out here instead of down by your side. Anytime we want to make a weight feel lighter, keep it closer to your body, and it's going to feel a lot better. One of the best ways to fix this forward movement of the hips instead of vertical leg drive is returning back to a tempo clean again. When practicing the tempo clean, we're going to make sure that our balance stays midfoot at the knee and stays midfoot in the power position before we drive up, and that we're not shifting back on the heels or forward on the toes too much in either direction. That's everything for this video. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Send this video to someone who needs to clean up their clean.